an article by one of the experts in democracy in Uganda. And they were discussing how much each member of parliament puts in primaries and also in the general elections. And the figure was at 1 billion.
We had a minister who is a former MP, Evelyn Anite, come out to speak how much she spends on just the election day.
So in the statement that was issued by the ministry, it listed highways and the internal roads and why they were not being worked on. And I will just summarize the list. One of the roads that we read, where a gentleman heard that they were going to construct a road and rushed and within 2 months put up a plaza because he knew that a 50 by 100 along Kasangati Road would maybe perhaps go for 100 million or something. So he built his plaza in a way that it cuts to where they want to pass the road.
Yes.
And if you follow the story to the bone, he had insider information.
Recently, the president has been doing PDM tours. You know, but the cost of him moving to a district to check on people who have three pigs, 4 chickens and 2 whatevers, you know, if that money would be reprioritized, you know, straight from the budgeting processes. Because how do you think this Nigeria road can be dilapidated like this? How many years has it spent in this kind of condition? You know?
And the border guys will tell you, Choka, there are ministers that pass on this road every day.
There are so many ministers. So as we plan, we need to plan as a unit. That's why someone was saying that today they can make a very beautiful road here.
Then cables, the guys for cables will come the next day. And then dig it up.
They dig it up.
Then
they put their cables.
National Water will come 2 months.
2 months after that.
And watch to pass a cable bill.
You know, it's so funny, and because it's true. It's so funny. I found it funny because it's true.
Very true.
You know, and then you
many
wonder,
scenarios.
when they were making the road, where were these people?
Where did people see it? Welcome to the Checkmate. Checkmate is a weekly news roundup podcast that summarizes the news that made rounds here in Uganda and all over the world. Now, my name is Harold, your host, and I co-host this with my lovely friend, Nicholas.
Do
you want to say hi to the viewers today?
Hi, our viewers. Like he has said, we'll be analyzing the news from the week. You may have come across a headline and you don't know, you're not going into the depth of what it means, what impact it has on you as a Ugandan, and how it will impact social, economic, political environment that we all live in and share. So that's why we're here. We're going to be here every week to look into these stories and how they directly translate to our well-being.
We don't want you to get shocked by the news. We want you to be aware of what is happening around you because it's part of your civic duty, I believe, Nicholas. We don't want a population that is taken advantage of.
And one that is detached, because everything that we talk about here or that makes the news in one way or the other has an impact on you, on Omuntu Wansi. Somehow. It's a road being mismanaged. It's inflation taking off your money. It's something, but it eventually, you may think, this is so big. This is about parliamentarians. This is about the guys who are running an election. But eventually, it has an impact. It has a line of relationship to the Muntu Wansi. And that's why we're starting this to show what is the relationship. How does this affect you? How does this concern you? Exactly. What should you do about it?
So, to the Ugandan in the diaspora, to an 8 to 5, to a very busy businessman downtown, and a lady who just gets home late and you don't get time to watch the news, we summarize the news for you in the comfort of your home in a summary that makes sense for you to enable you know what is around you and have a conversation on some of these topics. So, Nicholas, what are we talking about this week?
Well, this week, and not just this week, I think for the many coming weeks, we'll be talking majorly politics because it is the topic of the season. NRM primaries were concluded a few weeks back, and now the petitions have been in. And also the other parties have gone down to zero down on who their flag bearers are going to be. So it's been quite a political season.
The other thing that made news was the state of our roads.
Oh, yes, it did.
And Parliament picked an interest, and we'll be telling you more about that.
For sure. Moving on to sports news, of course, as most of you know, we're hosting CHAN, and our first game is going to be tomorrow, which we'll host, and all that is going to be coming up in the sports news roundup.
And part of sports is that, unfortunately, our ladies, the Gazelles, lost to South Sudan.
By a single
point. In the dying minutes of the game. Very painful.
But the game is the game.
The Silverbacks are coming up, and hopefully they will write a better story. We'll be bringing you that and more in our news, and we are starting off directly with our first discussion about the NRM primaries and the following up petitions. Okay, so Uganda's arguably biggest party, the NRM.
Not arguably. I think
the ruling party.
The ruling party.
Even if you view it by parliamentary seats.
Parliamentary seats.
And the head of state.
Popular reach, grassroots. Because this is a party that has been forming almost since, because it has roots in NRA.
In NRA and Uganda Patriotic Movement.
And UPM.
Yes.
This is a party that has been forming since maybe 1980 at the very least. And that is not extending its roots to Tanzania.
That's true.
You know, so the roots are deep. From the NRC, from the RC system,
yes.
You know, so it's not arguably, it's I think the biggest party that we have.
So that party that my friend Nicholas is talking about held its primaries, and this was on different levels, from the members of parliament, from the district chairpersons and the mayors for the capitals, and also shortly to the LC3 level. Now, there were little bit of issues that came with those elections.
Yes.
The starting point is that it came with over 2,000 election petitions. The second bit that you need to know is that those elections came with a very big level of violence.
Yes.
And the third bit that we'll be discussing is the money issue that was involved.
Monetization.
The monetization of politics that has been discussed. Now, one of the dailies ran an article by one of the experts in democracy in Uganda. And they were discussing how much each member of parliament puts in primaries and also in the general elections. And the figure was at 1 billion.
And Harold, I think even away from the dailies, we had a minister who is a former MP, Evelyn Anite, come out to speak how much she spends on just the election day. And there was even an argument with Raymond about there was an argument. Saying, where is that money in the economy? I understand that he was trying to poke a different thing, but the reality on ground is that people spend a lot of money. Now, I happen to be on ground for the primaries. My constituency is Shema South in Shema district from the Greater Bushenyi. And I could see the night before the primaries, there's a place. I come from a small town called Chitagata, and there's a place, the hot springs, where we usually sit at the cafe, and literally there's a candidate, I will not divulge into names, but his coordinators were there with bags of money, bags of cash, and these ones were saying with friends of mine, and people were auctioning their political rights. No, guys, these are coordinators of the different subsectors. So this one is going to go to this place, this one is going to go to this parish, this one is going to go to this parish, something like that. So let me just put this in perspective. The opinion poll that was done by some NGO, still avoiding names, but they said that an average MP spends 700 million to 1 billion shillings in an election. So for a constituency where it's hotly contested, it means they will spend that money in primaries. And if that adverse party comes as an independent, or there's another party, opposition party coming again, they are spending the same kind of money. That's true, because, for example, in my constituency that I was saying, in Shema South, for us, we don't have this whole thing of if the person has passed through the primaries, then that means it's assured. It's assured, yes. In the previous election, Professor Kamuntu beat Professor Mshemeza in the primary. It was a battle of professors. Yes, it was a battle of professors in the primary. It's a battle of professors with us. It's not a chance to show. But Professor Mshemeza comes during the general election and then as an independent. Doesn't shock. Basically, he had support, and then he takes over. And that one also didn't happen just there, also in the women elections at the district level. I think something like that happened. And over time, it's like this, meaning that the person who has put in all that money to win the primary, you know, you're going to put in almost
again the same amount or even more in the
for
general,
the general
election
because the stakes are high. And I think that going to the second point which you had said, there is a line of relationship between this money that we are putting in, you know, and the violence, because my money I can't put 700 one bar in an election.
Actually, for the Ugandan,
I must want to win at all cost.
For the Ugandan who didn't follow the elections, these elections were not by ballot, secret ballot.
No.
It was stand in my back and show support. So for someone who has just been bribed by 10K or 5K, and I see you standing in Nicholas's line, I will come for you at night because you chewed my money and you didn't come through.
And that's what emboldens these people who come for independent. They say, now in the general election, my people, this person gave them money, so they stood in his, you know, on the backs of his agents.
Yes.
But in the ballot, they can eat his money and vote me.
Exactly.
So it's a double-edged sword.
I think that's where the local translation of Kamyufu came from.
Yes.
You will be shocked in the end.
Indeed.
But it speaks a lot how we have monetized our elections and how dangerous it is. Let me tell you the truth that the moneylenders along Parliamentary Avenue were very busy. For them, it's a win.
It is.
Because even in the general elections, they even design products for ambulances, for loans, and they are very arrogant enough not to just allow your land as security. They will say you've sold to them the land.
Yes.
If you see the property that is exchanging hands, and then you expect that representative to deliver to you, it's a very big challenge, and it leaves a lot to be desired, both on us and even the leaders that we are fronting.
That's very true. But someone would ask, but we don't have time maybe to get into that. What is the genesis of the monetization of the politics in Uganda? And at the end of the day, who is the biggest beneficiary? You know? But I think one of the ways is the incentivization. It's the same thing that Honorable Anita was saying,
yes,
is that if we cut on the incentives, maybe someone who is not going to be willing to put in that much money. Exactly. But you see, even this current parliament, and not many months ago, government has come out. The government has come out.
But do you expect our parliamentarians to sit in a parliamentary sitting and debate to cut their own salaries and benefits?
I don't see that kind of thing, especially people have been bred by the system where they had to sacrifice their lives.
Exactly.
You know, to get to the chair. The only thing they will be looking for is how to bring back what has been lost through the election, you know. But we could benchmark countries where parliamentarians, you know, and on the basis of, you know, the common average of the common man. But also you must understand that this government has now deployed money
as a tool to compensate for loss of popularity.
Yes, to compensate for, even to push for policies. Like, we want this bill signed, and was disappointed when the president, you know, the president used to do things in a veiled manner. They do things in a mafia way behind the scenes. But now they have come out to say, no. The opposition has been putting money to this. Now we're also putting money to this. And this is a president of the country that is proud to say, we have to bribe to get our way through.
Exactly.
We have to use money, you know?
And it's even made news, I think it's my last one on this, where one of the leaders that we have on a public gathering is saying, the good thing is that when I steal, I bring to my constituents and we share. It has gotten that low. So I think, and the country will be going to the polls in early next year.
Yeah.
I think we have dates. I think the roadmap puts it either early Feb or Jan, around thereabouts.
Late Jan.
Yeah, and we have all the parties choosing their flag bearers.
Yes.
And then we'll be heading to the polls, and we can anticipate and hope that the violence that was reflected in this election, in the primaries, will not be what will be on the ground, because we want people safe.
But Harold, before we move away from that, what causes this violence? Why is it that there is a lot of force?
I think one of the things that is very evident now is we have very many people with power.
Exactly. The power centers are so many.
Very
The Gambanogus are so many.
Exactly.
There's also been this whole kind of thing where our security forces, and this thing started from the reign of the general who was at the helm of the police, where certain organs of our security forces are as if for hire.
That is very true.
As if,
Because even
they are now not even just partisan, because now this has been a party event. They come from being partisan to being outrightly in defense or in support of someone, and they are for hire to intimidate, to rough up,
frustrate some of the parties.
We saw it here in the Kawempe by-election here.
Yes. With
here,
what Jat did.
With what Jat... And you're wondering, what is the purpose? Is it to intimidate voters? Is it to intimidate the opponent? So,
but you see the funny thing with this,
and nobody takes accountability. We don't see someone coming out to say, police, we are maybe there was a DPC, an irate DPC
who has since been arrested.
Yes, who has since put down,
deranked and stuff like that.
Oh, there was an order that was given by someone which we don't understand. Nobody takes accountability. Nobody loses a job. There's no hearing. There is no, even at parliamentary level, it's just they read the statement.
You're just trying to describe the word impunity.
So we want to understand how we need to go in the general election. I want to tell you something. I'm not a prophet, but I can see that now the violence that we have seen before,
it might be worse.
Because what we have seen in this election, the violence in this NRM election has been unprecedented. From the past NRM election, they used to be smooth.
So also the other thing that I needed us to discuss maybe in a minute or two is the popularity of the party that we are talking about. We had over 10 state ministers lose in the primaries. I need you to discuss for a Ugandan who's just following this for the first time, how it is tying into the formation of the PLU and the young officers of NRM that are saying we can push for change within.
Well, for me, I want to discuss the loss of the ministers in twofold. One, it does not, I don't know if it has a line of relationship with the party losing popular support. Because you see, in NRM dominated areas, especially, let me say from the west where we come from,
maybe.
There is no different. In the last election, my people, should I say, voted out Professor Kamuntu, who was a minister, in favor of Professor Mshemeza. But that is not an indictment on NRM as a party.
It's on an
NRM
individual.
as a party is still considerably strong. But on individual basis, guys were like, no, this man has ruled for long. Those reasons, or maybe has not delivered this, or maybe has done enough. Let's try other people. It's not directly an indictment on the popularity of the party as NRM.
I get you.
However, it must speak something to what is the role of a minister supposed to be the strongest pillars?
A representation of the party.
But is that how Museveni chooses his ministers?
Is there
and the answer is no. Is that he chooses his ministers trying to balance he tries to balance the regions, tries to balance denominations of faith, So they are not, I don't think that the ministers represent the strongest pillars of NRM, that because David Bahati has lost an election, then the people of Ndorwa don't like the NRM. No, I don't.
So let me also give perspective to someone who's watching us. From those elections, as we hinted on, NRM has a legal committee. That legal committee is in charge of listening to petitions. Out of the MP races and mayoral races, there were over 2,000 petitions, 2,000 complainants. And the mode of the petition is that you would file a petition, attach affidavit evidence or pictorial evidence of DRR forms and etc. And each side, I had an opportunity to follow up on one. Each side had roughly 20 minutes to summarize. And they have powers to do three things. One, overturn an election and say this was not fair. Two, declare a winner. And three, to say let's redo the election altogether.
Rerun.
So the problem with that is that a party that warned people and say if you lose an election and you stand as an independent, you will lose your membership. The system for the electioneering, you have people complaining that there was violence and etc. But also the system which would be for appealing to cause justice, some people are already punching holes in it. You would have an influx of independent and start of a splinter of a party that seemingly has been strong, but you have now equal mega alpha lions in each of these constituencies, like what we saw in Remiaga, very strong people, and you would almost bet that one is going to come as an independent, which waters down what maybe the party wanted to push for. And in the past week, we've been talking about other things, and now we are at a place of Nicholas. Unfortunately, one of the things that made news this week was the state of our infrastructure.
Yep.
Specifically roads. I don't know why you're saying yep with a lot of energy.
I mean,
who are you working for?
No, no. I think infrastructure is, I think, something that we all use every day, so we feel its impact. And to see that it has taken this long for it to make news, there are road projects that have been in budgets for over 10 years.
Yes,
every year they keep saying this road is in the budget this year. This road is in the budget this year. That is one. But the Kampala infrastructure really, and the biggest question we should be able to ask is why is it left to dilapidate for it to be renovated? Why must we come to a place where roads look like this? You know, in the capital where we collect most taxes, most taxpayers have to get to work and do a job, and earn the government, you know, income to sustain the economy.
I get you.
And you let the roads. We have better roads in Chitagata, in Shema, you know, than the roads that are here in Kampala.
I get you.
You know, so when
so for context, the parliament is back this week. The parliament resumed its sittings, and in the opening address, the speaker, the first thing she noted was the state of the roads, and in her own words, she said that she was doing a tour around the country, and the state of our highways are in a very sorry state. And among the things that she said she was going to task the minister in charge, who would be the Minister of Works and Transport,
the General
to come
Edward Katumba.
And we will talk about that appointment later, and why the old man was going for military people to fill those spots as opposed to technocrats, and as you might want to call it, because a minister is beyond a political appointment. So in the statement that was issued by the ministry, it listed highways and the internal roads and why they were not being worked on. And I will just summarize the list. It talks about the Masindi, Biso, and Kabale, Kisirafumbi, that is a critical oil road whose budget of 111 billion is unpaid. So the contractor said, I will come back when you pay me. Same for Najana Nkumbi Busabala. You know that road. Very dusty and funny. I think it was half done. Moroto Lokitanyala. You will forgive my pronunciation of that. Kampala Jinja. That's the main road from the border entering the city. And then he says that those projects that I've read above are fully suspended due to non-payment. The next list that I'm about to read for the viewers, those projects are progressing at a reduced rate due to delayed payments. In other words, the contractor says you haven't paid me, but to show goodwill, I will continue, but I will reduce my mobilization on the ground. And these include Chirakasangati, Matuga, you know that bigger road. This includes Chisubi, Nakauka Natete, then Nakauka Kasanje Mpiji, Nakauka Maugulu Maya. Now that's why people who are going to the west do the branch off from Mpiji. That part that is being worked on. Kasanjo Buaya, Entebbe. I can go on and on, because I'm just on page 1 of that list and there are 2 pages. What does this say, and what is the frustration of the Ugandan about this state of roads?
I think the frustration of most Ugandans don't think about why the roads are in this state. We just cry about these are bad roads. You know, these are bad roads. But you must understand that our planning is the one that is letting us down mostly. Because I was talking to a friend, for example, who was in the recently disbanded UNRWA, about why the PG Express,
Yes, please.
had delayed and stalled and almost suspended, because there was a time it had taken really, really long without nothing happening. And he intimated to me that the initial cost they had quoted for the road, I don't have the quotes here, when entered into a contract and work started, that compensation and construction and everything, when work started on ground, they discovered that the money that was supposed to make this road was 5 times more than the money that had been quoted originally before government signed the contract with
my role is to give context to the viewer. I want at this very point to say that we have one of the most expensive roads in the world.
Yes, true.
And that is the Entebbe Express Highway.
That's
what makes that road one of the most expensive roads in the world, I think top 5, is not because of the quality of the road, but the amount that was spent in the compulsory acquisition of the plots of people that were replaced to provide for the road. Now, what happened, if you go to the history of that road and around the time that it was constructed, people had a rumor that the government wanted to do a road. So they would go and buy cheap plots along the express where the road would pass, and there was valuation of those plots, and money had to be paid because the government had to take over. Compulsory acquisition, it's provided for under the law. And if you see the amount of the money that went on the road that was paid to the contractor vis-a-vis the compensation that was paid, it's even laughable. And the same virus eats up the PG road, because what makes the original budget 5 times is the compensation. We even had court cases where people had a tree that they believed to be rock. I think they believed to be religion and culture, and they wanted compensation. And it's good that court sided with the public and said, guys,
just cut
the tree and give 180,000 instead of, I think they had claimed for over 500 million. So it talks a lot, and for me, and it takes to my second question to you on the president is always talking about.
Before we leave that point, Harold, you're the lawyer. I think, to be honest, our laws are in one way or the other to blame for these high compensation rates. But also remember that this kind of compensation and making roads expensive is one of the reasons why we cannot have a proper road network, a cheap road network. You find that the money that we spend to make one road would have made maybe 1.5.
It's a question of, I want to disagree with you on that point.
From a place of, you're the lawyer, from a place of, I think it has something to do with the laws of compensation, to land tenures, something in the law that makes, for example, a country like Kenya
or Rwanda,
because
Rwanda does not have private ownership of property.
Yes,
but you see, that's where we're moving from. Before this constitution came into play, government, by the 1979 decree by Amin, government owned all the land. You would just go and apply to it, and government would give you the lease. When the constitution came, they said, guys, apart from the designated land, you own your land, and if government wants to compulsorily acquire that land, it will compensate you. There are values in place for how much is to be compensated, because you have government valuers to say a plot in Chanja, a plot in Najanankumbi costs this much.
Yes.
The problem now comes with the issue of corruption, where now there's a scenario on the road, one of the roads that we read, where a gentleman heard that they were going to construct a road and rushed, and within 2 months put up a plaza, because he knew that a 50 by 100 along Kasangati Road would maybe perhaps go for 100 million or something. They need a portion of it. So he built his plaza in a way that it cuts to where they want to pass the road.
Yes.
And if you follow the story to the bone, he had insider information on where the road is going to pass, how they compensate buildings. It's not about the law. Man and our nature is that we will look for a way around the law to benefit ourselves. And maybe it will be a corrupt individual in a government agency. And it goes back to what we were discussing before, the lack of accountability and bringing people to book. So it's just beyond the law. And maybe you can argue, because we once tried that place of let the government own and let the people be tenants on the government land. And people thought it wise to transition to say, own your land and do whatever you want to do with it. But if government wants it, even, for example, for people in the oil city, a lot of land has been acquired.
Yeah.
And even some of the multinationals have had issues because of the people that want to complain. Because a multinational like Total, if people demonstrate to say you are mafuta mingi and you took our land, for them that's a PR issue.
Yes.
And
indeed.
some of the issues were coming across in northern Uganda, where they're doing an airport, and also in the oil city. Some of the things that we want to discuss and see that a Ugandan is represented, because the biggest frustration is people are complaining that the taxes are rising and are complaining about the quality of services. We're not talking about hospitals and schools, but on the state of the roads.
But Harold, I feel like we diverted a little bit. And I think I was the reason for the diversion. But that was insightful to our viewers. But the question is, why is there a big discrepancy? Do we not have enough resources?
I think it's a question of
because
poor planning.
the minister was saying how much money we owe
The contractors
vis-a-vis how much money has been released from the treasury, and I don't think, for me personally, that it's a matter of having few resources. It's a matter of lacking
priorities and planning.
The money that, for example, is being scooped out, being given to fake investors, being given to projects that will never benefit Atiak Sugar. There is Loboa Hospital, the thing in Intungamo, the coffee thing in Intungamo, the coffee park.
Yeah.
There's another gentleman that is apparently into it's a pharmaceutical something. He has taken a lot of money from the treasury. Now, these are public-private investments that the public has never been able to benefit from.
What's the most successful PPP that we've had in Uganda? It's very hard to think offhand.
Exactly.
You would not need to look through the papers. And when people are complaining about these things, and recently in the news we had a story break of how much, and it was broken by Honorable Semjo, on how much the State House spends on a daily. From nurses to maids to etc.
To vehicles.
And if you see the supplementary budgets that are passed on a year, sometimes 2 in a year, in a financial year, and you don't know where that money comes from, because the rest of the money has been budgeted for. But you have these supplementary budgets and then the state of the roads. Yet
recently, the president has been doing PDM tours. But the cost of him moving to a district to check on people who have three pigs, 4 chickens, and 2 whatevers. If that money would be reprioritized, straight from the budgeting processes. Because how do you think this Nigeria road can be dilapidated like this? How many years are you spent in this kind of condition?
And the border guys will tell you, Choka, there are ministers that pass on this road every day.
There are so many ministers.
I think for me and for the Ugandans watching, my biggest issue is we are so locked in comparing the status quo vis-a-vis when the government came in 1986, as opposed to comparing the status quo against how things should be.
Yes,
because our neighbors are doing wonderfully in some of those sectors.
But the biggest problem that we have in Uganda, and I must say, where a lot of money is spent, is actually the season that we are in. Electioneering and politics. Because so many multiplication of duties, so many useless offices, so many useless administrative units that we are adding, town councils, RDCs, deputy RDCs,
deputy DSOs,
deputy DSOs, deputy FUSOs, deputy WISOs. everything. Has a deputy, has an office, has a
There
car.
are deputy whistles.
Has a car.
Yeah,
You know?
a government vehicle.
A government vehicle. To feel big that now I am the one. To feel that you're important to the government. And I feel that cutting on that expenditure, would be beneficial for our infrastructure. And not just roads, but hospitals.
As we summarize and get to a close, let's talk about the other thing that is making news. We have channeled into sports tourism, co-hosting the CHAN and co-hosting the AFCON 2027. Now, for the viewer, CHAN is a tournament that is played by African continents by players who are based on the African continent. For example, let's give an example of Cameroon. CHAN would be played by Cameroonians who are playing in the local leagues within Africa. Onana wouldn't play.
No.
Mbuno
Neither would
wouldn't.
Mbuno, yes.
Yes. So that's a tournament to boost local talent, and Uganda and Kenya and Tanzania are hosting this. You can tell us more about that and what you think would have an impact on our economy and the state of the nation.
Well, I think that, to be honest, sports tourism is the way to go. Sports attracts a lot of people, a lot of excitement, a lot of things. One of the things I will be doing this year is to go to North London and sing North London Forever at the Emirates, as we maybe put 3 or 4 past his miserable team of United.
Let's stay focused.
I'm bringing my point someplace.
On the Ugandan perspective.
I'm bringing my point someplace. So, and if I travel to the UK, to North London, to the N5, that is money that I'm putting into the economy. I'm sleeping in a hotel. I'm using the infrastructure. So positioning Uganda as a center for sports tourism is a very righteous cause, and it's a very good one.
For context, for the UK, the sports contributes over 35% of their GDP.
Is that a small thing?
It's a very
35%. That is a very huge thing.
In fact, the UK core team, their planning is on sports and education as the main source of income. So it's very big. Our neighbor Rwanda has sunk a lot of money.
Yes,
in that.
It is big, but the question is, are we ready? It's good to have a good desire, but are you willing to sacrifice for it? And it stems from what we have been talking about. This kind of infrastructure, if someone comes, and they have this kind of, are we ready infrastructure-wise?
And they sleep in a certain 4-star hotel and they have to use a road as such that we've been reading.
From roads to security to general order. Can someone purchase a ticket? Have you been to, I've attended 1 or 2 AFCON games, qualifiers and what. Have you been to Namboy? Do you know what happens?
Security after the matches.
There's a friend of mine, I know he'll watch this. Twice he has lost his phone.
Wow.
Because of we're in excitement, we're supporting Uganda cranes, and after the man reaches home without a phone,
with a defaced face.
But also he's grateful that he has reached home.
He has reached home.
But so that is not an experience that anyone would want to travel to see.
Because we also, if you think about that, I think now we are the only country in the East Africa without, and I'm choosing my words carefully, a very effective functional railway system.
Exactly.
And imagine...
No, you don't have to even use a very effective... what we have is not even...
and you see, one of the things that made news this week was the corporation that is in charge of our railway system was advertising how it wants to participate and help people reach Nambole. And in their poster, they said that departure time will depend on how many people have boarded the train. And they said that was the most African poster of the times. But if you go in other countries, Kenya and in Tanzania, very functional. The games in Uganda for AFCON will be hosted at Namboe and Hoima.
Yes.
But you can imagine how many 4-star hotels are in Hoima.
Hoima has quite a bit of infrastructure coming up because of the old city.
But accessibility.
Yes.
Because if the airport was ready that a team would fly in and be able to just book in a hotel, and the ease of doing this and that, it's where we are lacking. Our neighbors, and they say Rwanda, we use Rwanda as a prospering cousin to haunt our leadership, but they are planning as big as hosting Formula One, and plans are in motion. They have used their arena to host one of the biggest basketball tournaments
Yes.
and host the biggest people. And you can imagine how many people flock into their country for such activities. So as we
And the trickle down effect of those who come, because those who come sometimes go into tourism, go to tour, go to and do lots of other things. Uganda has potential. To be honest, we serve many people that are crazy about sports. Sure. We have good destinations, good enough. Our country is much bigger and more diverse than some of our neighbors. We have a stadium here in Nambole. We have one in Hoima. We have now. So the gap between what we want to achieve and where we are is still big. I hope by the time they come, this Busunju road, the Hoima road is going to be done.
Will be worked
because if the stadium if the airport is not function and the teams have to travel and the road is still in the state that it's in now,
we don't have to have a scenario that the player picked an injury while going to the stadium.
Yeah, they reach
the
back problems. What now? They need massages and stuff. That will be counterproductive to what we're trying to build. But I am very optimistic. It's a good thing to have that kind of vision. Like you've said, Rwanda is trying to host Formula 1. That's big. But the fact that we are trying to position Uganda as, a sports tourism destination is a good thing. If we are able to, and the problem with us, with Uganda, is that usually we don't function as a unit. As a unit, as a human body, if your head tells you, I am going to walk to the door, your legs will coordinate and you walk to the door, your arms, everything will go.
And we also hosted the continental tournament for rugby.
The problem that we have is that your legs can be going to the door and your hands are still holding on to. So the people in sports are planning and saying, let's make Uganda a sports destination. But the infrastructure people are not allowing them. And these two they don't see that there's a point of convergence. That one facilitates the other, So as we plan, we need to plan as a unit. That's why someone was saying that today they can make a very beautiful road here.
Then cables, the guys for cables will come the next day. And then dig it up.
They dig it up. Then put their cables.
National Water will come 2 months.
2 months after that.
And want to pass a cable bill.
It's so funny. And because it's true. It's so funny. I found it funny because it's true.
Very true.
And then you wonder,
scenarios.
When they were making the road, where were these people?
Where did people see it?
I mean, isn't there a place in this in UNRWA or Ministry of Works that says, if you're going to make Chanja Ring Road, let's call all the parties together so that the National Water can pass their water.
You come, National Water you come.
So we need to have the same system.
Okay, UEDCL now. Okay.
We need to have the same system as we position Uganda as a sports tourism destination, to say, let the infrastructure support, in roads, in hotels, in ticketing.
That's
so
true.
That someone who has an international experience of how things go
will not come with a whole thing.
Yes,
I'm coming to a third world country.
Yes, we not have to line up to go to Shell Chireka, pick your ticket from there. No. Can't I pay on a ticket on my phone? And
it should be Uganda has shocked us.
Yes.
By hosting
and some of these things,
if they come with bias.
And some of these things are not very. It's just about to change our mentalities. They're not very expensive. That you need to deploy a system of 1 billion to be able to buy a ticket online. You reach and you swap, and they say you are admitted to the stadium. It's just people in the system who cannot allow themselves to think beyond the traditional methods of doing things.
We can go on and on, but we have to,
of course,
I think, close.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in the coming weeks? For country. I will not ask about your personal life.
No, what we're looking forward to, of course, for the country is we're watching very closely. Today we didn't discuss NOP. Watching very closely what will unfold in the different political parties.
A lot is cooking.
A lot is cooking to see what is the way forward for 2026. I know NOP is going to be coming out soon. And closely watching the marriage between PFF
and ANT.
And the ANT, and to see if peradventure Kano Besigye can be allowed out. Because at this moment, it's allowing. It's permission he's seeking. It's mercy. Because every legal system has been defied and defiled. This is not a man on trial. It's a legal system on trial. And so far, the man can only plead for mercy.
Okay. And also maybe just to talk about some of the great names that we have lost in these times. His Lordship, Kanyihamba, passed on.
Yes.
Yeah, former Justice of the Supreme Court.
Solid man.
Yeah, and
Solid
also
man.
the founder of TASO, Rhoda Kalema.
Oh, yeah.
I think she passed on at the age of 96 in Kenya. I will emphasize the passing on place because of also the health sector that we have here. But may they rest in peace, and we celebrate the contribution they did to the nation. This has been the checkmate for this week. And we look forward to having you again in our next week's episode. Nicholas, I can proudly say checkmate.
Checkmate indeed.